Chosen ones, September 21, don't play with this message. It's too serious. Chosen ones, hear me well. September 21 is not just another date on the calendar. It is a spiritual marker, a divine checkpoint, a moment when the heavens lean closer to test if you are awake or still asleep. This message is not entertainment. It is not a casual word to tickle ear. It is too serious to ignore, too sacred to treat lightly, for it carries the weight of destiny itself. The Spirit is sounding an alarm in your soul, calling you to rise from slumber and remember who you are, for the chosen cannot afford to drift like those who have no anchor. Every sign, every dream, every sudden stirring in your heart is not random. It is heaven speaking, and to dismiss it is to close the door on the very breakthrough you have been praying for. This is not a time for hesitation or doubt. This is the hour to stand firm in faith, to honor the word whispered within, and to move with holy conviction. September 21 marks a turning, and only those who treat this message with reverence will see the unfolding of what has been promised. The power of inner conviction. Chosen ones, hear me with the ear of the Spirit, for what I share with you is not theory but truth that must be lived. The world you walk in, the conditions you face, the people you encounter, and the circumstances surrounding your life, all of it is the outpicturing of an inner conviction. Nothing comes into your experience unless it first finds a root in your consciousness. Too many live as though life happens to them, as if they are tossed about by winds they cannot control. But you, being chosen, are called to know better. The truth is this: the secret of your tomorrow is already alive within your inner state today. If you are convinced of lack, you will walk in lack. If you are convinced of betrayal, you will meet betrayal. But if you are convinced of victory, you will live in victory. September 21 is not just a date. It is a divine summons to examine the convictions you are carrying and to decide whether they align with the destiny you claim to believe in. For what you accept within yourself becomes law for your world, and no outer force can break it. The power of inner conviction is not found in words alone, but in the felt reality you dare to accept in the silence of your soul. You may speak of abundance, yet inwardly entertain images of poverty. You may declare healing, yet imagine yourself frail. Do you not see the contradiction within you is what delays your manifestation? Life will not honor your lips, it honors your inner certainty. The invisible root always determines the visible fruit. To play lightly with this truth is to play lightly with your destiny, and chosen ones cannot afford to be careless with what shapes their future. You must ask yourself, what am I truly convinced of when no one is watching, when the noise of the world is silent, when it is just me and my inner self? That answer will tell you what is coming, for the inner world is always the womb of the outer world. Think of conviction as the soil in which your reality grows. A seed planted in fertile ground takes root, flourishes, and becomes a tree. But a seed tossed upon shallow earth dries up and dies. In the same way, your desires cannot grow unless they are planted in the fertile ground of unwavering conviction. Do you know why many cry out in prayer yet see no change? It is not because the divine is deaf. It is because their prayer is hollow. They ask with words, but within they doubt, they fear. They imagine failure, and so their own inner state cancels the request. A true prayer is not begging, it is receiving. It is the act of assuming the desire already fulfilled, holding that inner picture until it feels more real than the evidence of the senses. When you are convinced that what you ask for already is, life must rearrange itself to match your conviction. That is the law of faith, the law of the unseen, the law of manifestation. Chosen ones, September 21 presses upon you a serious question. What conviction are you living by? This is not the time to entertain half-belief. This is the hour to choose what reality you will stand in, even when the world says otherwise. If you are convinced of divine protection, then no weapon formed against you can prosper. If you are convinced that heaven is guiding your path, then even detours will work in your favor. If you are convinced that abundance belongs to you, then opportunities will appear where others see nothing. But if you doubt, if you waver, if you play with conviction as though it were optional, then you will live in delay, circling deserts instead of entering promised lands. The seriousness of this message lies here. Conviction is not a game. It is the very substance by which your destiny unfolds. You must learn to train your inner eye to see beyond the evidence of the senses. The outer world will often present you with contradictions, bank accounts that say empty, relationships that say broken, bodies that say weary. But the chosen do not live by appearances, they live by conviction. Conviction does not ask, "What do I see?" but declares, "I know what is true." And because it knows, it rests. It does not strive, it does not panic, it does not chase. It waits in calm assurance, for it already holds the seed of the promise within. That is why conviction is power. It draws the unseen into the seen, the invisible into the visible, and the word spoken in silence into the shout of manifestation. Understand this: the world cannot resist a man or woman of true conviction. You may be opposed, mocked, or doubted, but if you hold fast within, eventually the outer world must bow. History itself bends before the weight of inner certainty. Every great movement, every transformation, every miracle ever witnessed was born not of chance but of conviction. The chosen walk in this path not because it is easy, but because they cannot do otherwise. They know that to surrender conviction is to surrender destiny, and so they cling to it as a lifeline even when storms rage. Do not despise small beginnings, for conviction turns mustard seeds into mountains. Do not fear delays, for conviction transforms waiting into preparation. And do not let the laughter of others shake you, for conviction will make you the very proof they cannot deny. There is also a warning hidden within this truth. If inner conviction shapes reality, then what you accept in fear is just as powerful as what you accept in faith. To continually imagine worst outcomes, to replay failures, to picture betrayals, is to plant seeds that cannot help but grow. Many suffer not because heaven denied them, but because they have been too faithful to their fears. Faith is always working, whether for good or ill. The chosen must guard the inner chamber of imagination like a sacred temple, allowing no intruder of doubt or fear to dwell there. Once entertained, these intruders will multiply and spread, choking the vision of promise. Guard your heart with diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. Chosen ones, do not mistake this for philosophy. It is law. The seriousness of this message is that you cannot escape the fruit of your own conviction. You are always creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. The question is not whether you are manifesting, but what you are manifesting. If you feel powerless, it is because you have not claimed the authority given to you. Authority is not in shouting louder prayers, but in standing unmoved within, knowing that the word once spoken in conviction is as good as done. Heaven honors conviction, and earth must obey it. September 21 is not a random day. It is a reminder to stop wavering, to stop doubting, to stop playing with destiny. This is the hour to fix your conviction on the promise and refuse to be shaken. Now I ask you, what are you convinced of today? Are you convinced that life is against you, or are you convinced that all things are working for your good? Are you convinced that you are ordinary, or are you convinced that you have been chosen for extraordinary purpose? Are you convinced that fear rules, or are you convinced that love conquers all? Your answer will shape your tomorrow. Do not delay, do not shrug this off. Do not treat it as another word you can forget. The chosen cannot afford such carelessness. Stand in your conviction as though your life depends on it, because it does. This is not a game. This is the law by which heaven operates. So let this be your resolve on this day. I will no longer doubt my destiny. I will no longer bow to appearances. I will no longer treat lightly the convictions I carry. I will hold within myself the image of promise fulfilled. I will walk as though it is already mine. I will rest in assurance that what I believe within will manifest without. And when storms arise, I will remember that conviction is stronger than circumstance. I will remember that the unseen is more real than the seen. I will remember that chosen ones are called to live not by sight, but by the inner knowing that cannot be shaken. This is the seriousness of the message. Your conviction is creating even now. Do not play with it. Guard it, nurture it, direct it, and honor it. For what you hold within will soon stand before you. September 21 is the reminder that you have been entrusted with the power of creation. Use it wisely, for you will surely reap what you sow. Signs are not random, chosen ones. Let me speak to your spirit, for what I say is not for the casual listener, but for those who sense that life carries patterns, whispers, and divine signals woven into every moment. You have been told by the world that coincidences are accidents, that events just happen, that dreams are illusions, and numbers, symbols, or repeated patterns are mere chance. but I tell you with certainty, nothing is random. Every occurrence in your life, from the smallest whisper of intuition to the largest upheaval of circumstance, is a mirror reflecting the unseen state of your consciousness. The signs you encounter are not trivial. They are messages, guidance, and confirmations sent to awaken you to the seriousness of your path. September 21 is not merely a date on a calendar. It is a living sign, a divine marker, a symbolic doorway into a deeper awareness of how heaven communicates with you. To ignore these signs is to walk blindly in a world designed to be read and understood. The chosen are never left without guidance. Life, like a great book, is always speaking. The problem is not that signs are absent. The problem is that most are too distracted to notice them or too careless to take them seriously. Have you not wondered why certain numbers repeat themselves around you? Why certain words echo through conversations? Why a stranger crosses your path at just the right moment? Why a dream lingers in your spirit as though it carries weight beyond imagination? These are not random. They are heaven's handwriting, inscribed across the canvas of your experience, urging you to pay attention. Signs are not given to confuse you, but to confirm you, to direct you, to align you with what you have been inwardly preparing for. To dismiss them as chance is to shut your ears to the very guidance you prayed for. Understand this: signs are not external decorations. They are inner states reflected outwardly. When you are convinced of something within, life itself will echo that conviction through signs in the world around you. If you believe in love, signs of love appear. If you believe in betrayal, you will see shadows of betrayal. Life is a mirror, and the signs it shows are the reflections of your inner state. Do you see why this is so serious? If you do not take your inner world seriously, you will misread or even despise the signs sent to you. You will call them random when they are anything but. The chosen must rise above this blindness and recognize that every sign is a clue pointing you toward alignment with your destiny. Think of signs as road markers on a journey. A traveler who ignores them risks getting lost. The signs do not force the traveler. They only point the way. So too with you. Heaven will not force you to obey, but it will send you signs. If you follow them, you stay on course. If you dismiss them, you wander in circles, delaying the very promise you are called to inherit. That is why this message must be taken with reverence. Signs are too serious to be ignored, too sacred to be explained away as mere coincidence. Each sign you encounter carries weight, and it is your responsibility to discern it, honor it, and act accordingly. Some of you are waiting for a thunderous voice from heaven, but you miss the still whispers of daily signs that already surround you. The friend who speaks a word you needed to hear, the repeated number on the clock, the song that plays at the exact moment your heart aches, the sudden inner nudge that feels too real to dismiss. These are not random accidents. They are divine confirmations. The chosen must not shrug these off, for to do so is to play with the sacred. The seriousness of signs lies in this: they reveal the state of your consciousness and the direction of your journey. Ignore them, and you ignore the mirror that shows you who you are becoming. But let me warn you, signs do not only reveal blessings, they also expose dangers. If your spirit is unsettled when walking into a place, that is a sign. If your heart grows heavy around certain people, that is a sign. If doors seem to close no matter how hard you push, that too is a sign. Life does not block you without reason. The chosen are protected not just by open doors, but also by closed ones. To ignore a sign is to risk entering traps that heaven has already warned you about. Do not call misfortune bad luck. Ask instead, what signs did I miss? For there were always signs, but perhaps you treated them as random. The seriousness of this message is that signs are not suggestions, they are instructions, and how you respond determines whether you move forward or remain stuck. When heaven shows you repeatedly that something is not for you, do not insist on holding it. When heaven confirms through signs that the way is open, do not hesitate in doubt. Signs align you with timing, and timing is everything. A blessing received outside of its appointed time can feel like a burden. That is why signs come, to ensure that you are not too early and not too late, but perfectly aligned with the rhythm of destiny. September 21 stands as a sign itself, a moment carved out to remind you that what you call random is sacred. Think back over your life. Have you not noticed patterns, that certain breakthroughs came only after you obeyed small nudges, that certain disasters were avoided only because you paid attention to a subtle warning? that certain prayers were confirmed through an unlikely encounter. These are the fingerprints of heaven, and they will continue to appear until you take them seriously. You must understand also that signs speak differently to each chosen one. What is a sign to you may mean nothing to another. This is why you must develop sensitivity to your own spiritual language. If you dream of water repeatedly, it may symbolize cleansing for you, but to another it may symbolize abundance. If you see numbers repeating, ask your spirit what they mean, for the language of signs is deeply personal. Heaven knows how to speak to you in ways you will recognize, but you must not be careless in interpreting them. To shrug off your signs because others do not see them is to rob yourself of guidance meant only for you. Let me also say this: signs require response. To receive a sign and do nothing is as dangerous as not receiving one at all. If heaven shows you that a relationship is toxic and you stay, you cannot blame God for the pain that follows. If heaven nudges you to move forward in a venture and you delay, you cannot call it divine delay. It was your disobedience. Signs reveal, but your obedience activates. That is why chosen ones must be vigilant and serious with what they are shown. Signs are sacred invitations to act in alignment with divine will, and only those who take them seriously will step into the fullness of their promise. Do not forget that the enemy also seeks to send counterfeit signs, illusions meant to confuse and mislead. How do you discern the difference? True signs bring peace, clarity, and alignment, even if they require sacrifice. False signs bring confusion, fear, and pressure. The chosen must test every sign in the quiet place of spirit. If it does not align with truth, discard it. But if it resonates deeply, if it brings assurance even in challenge, take it seriously, for it carries divine weight. Chosen ones, the message is clear. There are no coincidences. Life is not a game of chance. It is a tapestry woven from the threads of your inner state, reflected back to you as signs. Every repeated pattern, every inner nudge, every strange coincidence is heaven speaking. To play with these messages is to play with your future. Treat them with reverence, for they carry direction, protection, and confirmation. September 21 is a divine marker reminding you that what you see around you is not random. It is intentional, purposeful, and deeply connected to your destiny. So today I say, open your eyes. Stop dismissing the whispers of heaven. Stop calling sacred signs coincidences. Begin to notice, to honor, and to obey. For when you take signs seriously, you align yourself with the divine flow of life. And in that alignment, nothing can stop you from walking into the promise prepared for you. Remember, chosen ones, signs are not random. They are the compass pointing you to destiny. Take them seriously, for your future depends on it. This message requires obedience, chosen ones. Let me speak plainly and without compromise. This message is not for casual listeners, nor for those who treat divine whispers as options to be entertained. It is for those who understand that obedience is the bridge between revelation and manifestation. You can hear 1,000 sermons, read countless words, and dream endless dreams, but without obedience nothing changes. Heaven does not reward hearers only. It rewards those who act, those who move, those who align themselves with the instruction given. The seriousness of this message is precisely this: obedience is not optional for the chosen. It is the very condition of your destiny. To delay obedience is to delay promise. To reject obedience is to reject breakthrough, and play with obedience is to play with your life. September 21 stands as a divine checkpoint, a reminder that your next level does not rest upon whether you heard the word, but upon whether you obeyed it. Consider this truth: when heaven speaks, it is not giving advice, it is issuing command, and commands are not to be debated, they are to be followed. Yet many treat divine instruction as though it were merely suggestion, choosing what is convenient and ignoring what demands sacrifice. But chosen ones, you cannot select which instructions to obey and which to dismiss. Partial obedience is disobedience. Delayed obedience is disobedience. To hear and not act is to invite stagnation into your life. How many breakthroughs have been forfeited because someone heard but did not obey? How many blessings have been delayed because someone thought they had more time? How many doors remained closed because the instruction to unlock them was never followed? The chosen must not fall into this trap. This message is too serious. The Spirit does not burden you with random instructions. Every command carries purpose. When you are told to leave a place, it is because destruction awaits there. When you are told to release a person, it is because they cannot walk with you where you are going. When you are told to take a step of faith, it is because provision has already been prepared for you on the other side. Obedience is not about understanding everything in advance. It is about trusting that the one who sees the end from the beginning knows better than you. To wait until you understand fully is to walk by sight, not by faith. The chosen are called to a higher way, the way of immediate obedience. For every second you delay, you give room for doubt, fear, and confusion. Choke the seed of instruction. Chosen ones, obedience is the ultimate act of faith. To obey is to say, I trust the unseen more than the seen. I trust the voice within more than the noise without. I trust the promise more than the circumstance. It is easy to declare faith with your lips, but faith is proven by obedience. The one who says, I believe, yet refuses to act, does not truly believe. Belief without obedience is dead. Obedience is belief in action. That is why the chosen are measured not by how much they know, but by how faithfully they obey. You may know the entire word, but if you do not obey, it profits you nothing. Knowledge without obedience is like a lamp hidden under a basket. There is light, but it shines on no one. Obedience removes the basket and lets the light break forth. There is also a hidden protection in obedience. Many dangers have been avoided because someone obeyed a quiet nudge. Many traps have been escaped because someone followed a seemingly small instruction. Do not underestimate the weight of little obediences, for they often lead to great deliverances. What seems small to you may be the very act that shifts your entire destiny. The chosen cannot afford to trivialize instructions, no matter how minor they appear. To obey in the small is to be trusted with the great. If you ignore the little nudges, how can you be entrusted with the weight of larger assignments? This message is too serious to be treated with carelessness. Obedience in the little prepares you for obedience in the much, but let me also warn you, disobedience carries consequence. The path of the chosen is narrow, and to step outside it is to invite unnecessary pain. This is not to say that heaven punishes you, but that disobedience disconnects you from protection and provision already prepared. If you are told to leave and you stay, then the collapse that comes is not heaven's cruelty, but your refusal to obey. If you are told to act and you hesitate, then the delay that follows is not divine neglect, but the fruit of your own inaction. Disobedience opens doors to confusion, frustration, and stagnation, while obedience opens doors to clarity, peace, and forward movement. The chosen must therefore treat every instruction with the utmost seriousness. Obedience requires sacrifice. It will rarely align with your comfort zone. It may ask you to walk away from what is familiar, to release what you have clung to risk what feels secure. But chosen ones are not called to live in comfort. They are called to live in purpose, and purpose demands obedience even when it hurts, even when it costs, even when it does not make sense to the natural mind. What you sacrifice in obedience you always gain multiplied in destiny. Nothing surrendered is ever lost. It returns transformed, greater, richer, and aligned with the will of heaven. That is why obedience is never loss. It is investment into your own future. Many ask for breakthrough, but few are willing to obey the instructions attached to it. Do you see the irony? They cry for doors to open, but when told to knock, they refuse. They cry for healing, but when told to forgive, they resist. They cry for abundance, but when told to give, they hold back. Yet breakthrough is always tied to obedience. You cannot separate the two. The promise you seek is locked behind an instruction, and until you obey, the door remains closed. That is why this message presses so urgently upon you. Do not pray for what you are unwilling to obey for. If you will not obey, stop asking, for asking without obedience is self-deception. Chosen ones, September 21 is a marker, a reminder that this is not the season for hesitation. This is the season for decisive action. When heaven speaks, move. When heaven nudges, obey. When heaven warns, listen. This is not the time to play with sacred instructions. Your future is too great, your calling too high, your destiny too weighty to be jeopardized by disobedience. Do not treat this message as entertainment. It is a call to alignment, a call to seriousness, a call to immediate action. Obedience also releases peace. The inner struggle ends when you simply obey. Much of the turmoil you feel is not because life is against you, but because you resist what you know you must do. Obedience silences the conflict, aligns you with purpose, and brings a calm assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be. That peace cannot be faked. It is fruit of alignment. Disobedience, however, breeds restlessness. The chosen cannot rest while out of alignment. You may distract yourself for a season, but deep down the Spirit knows when you are resisting. True rest comes only through obedience. Let this be your resolve today. I will obey immediately. I will not delay. I will not debate. I will not excuse. If heaven says move, I will move. If heaven says release, I will release. If heaven says act, I will act. I will treat every instruction as sacred, for my destiny depends on it. I will no longer play with obedience, for it is serious. I will walk by faith expressed in action, trusting that every step of obedience leads me closer to the promise prepared for me. Remember, chosen ones, this message is not light, it is heavy. It is not optional, it is essential. Obedience is not a side matter, it is the very foundation of destiny. September 21 is a line drawn in the sand. On which side will you stand? Will you be a hearer only, deceiving yourself, or will you be a doer, aligning with heaven and stepping into your promise? The choice is yours, but the consequences are unavoidable. Obey, and you will walk in blessing. Resist, and you will circle in delay. The message is clear. This word requires obedience. Do not play with it. It is too serious. The invisible is the real chosen ones. If there is one truth you must never forget, it is this: the invisible is more real than the visible. What you see with your physical eyes is temporary, fleeting, subject to change. The conditions surrounding you today are but shadows cast by a deeper reality, the inner state of your consciousness. To live only by what is seen is to live as one blind, for sight without vision is blindness in disguise. The chosen are called to look beyond appearances, to pierce the veil of the visible and stand firm in the unseen truth that governs all. The world will tell you, seeing is believing, but heaven whispers, believing is seeing. For faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. And what you dare to accept in the invisible realm will, in its appointed time, take shape in the visible world around you. The seriousness of this message lies in this: many are trapped because they think the visible is final. They see lack and call it permanent. They see sickness and call it destiny. They see delay and call it defeat. But chosen ones, hear me clearly. The visible is only an echo of the invisible, and echoes can change when the source changes. The truth of who you are, the promise over your life, the destiny written for you, does not lie in appearances, but in the unseen. If you look only at what is before your eyes, you will faint, you will fear, you will lose hope. But if you learn to rest in the invisible, to hold within you the inner picture of victory, abundance, healing, and purpose, then no outer storm can shake you. For the invisible is the seed, and visible is only the harvest, and harvests may change, but seeds determine destiny. Think of your imagination. How often it is dismissed as fantasy by those who do not understand. Yet imagination is the creative womb of reality. Everything you see in the world today was first invisible, born in imagination of someone who dared to believe it. The homes you live in, the devices you hold, the cities you walk through, none existed until someone believed in the invisible vision of them. And if this is true for inventions, how much more for your destiny? Do you not see? The inner image you carry is already shaping tomorrow's visible outcome. If you imagine yourself defeated, you will live in defeat. If you imagine yourself victorious, life itself must eventually bend to match your vision. The invisible image is the blueprint, and the visible is the construction. Without a blueprint, there can be no building. That is why chosen ones must take the invisible seriously. It is more real than what you can touch. Chosen ones, September 21 stands as a divine reminder that you must stop bowing to appearances. Appearances are deceivers. They shift like shadows, they change like seasons, they rise and fall like tides, but the invisible truth is unshakable. When heaven speaks a word over your life, it does not matter what appearances say. If heaven declares abundance, lack cannot define you. If heaven declares healing, sickness cannot confine you. If heaven declares victory, defeat cannot bind you. The chosen live not by sight, but by the invisible reality of promise, and that invisible promise will, without fail, clothe itself in visible form. Do not let what you see today blind you to what is already real in the unseen. Understand this: every trial you face is a test of whether you will trust the invisible or bow to the visible. When storms rise, the visible screams fear, but the invisible whispers peace. When doors close, the visible declares loss, but the invisible declares protection. When delays stretch long, the visible shouts hopelessness, but the invisible assures preparation. The chosen are measured by how they respond in these moments. Will you let appearances dictate your faith, or will you hold fast to the unseen truth? To live by the visible is to be a slave to circumstance. To live by the invisible is to be a master of destiny. This is why the invisible must be treated with utmost seriousness. It is the true foundation of your life. Think of a seed buried in the soil. To the natural eye, there is nothing happening. The visible shows only dirt, emptiness, and waiting. But beneath the surface, in the invisible realm, life is stirring, roots are forming, growth is beginning. The chosen one who doubts will dig up the seed, saying, I see nothing. But the chosen one who trusts will water, nurture, and wait, knowing the invisible process is more real than the empty surface, and in time the invisible life breaks through into visible form. Such is the law of faith. To doubt the invisible because you cannot yet see it is foolishness. To trust the invisible despite appearances is wisdom, and wisdom will always be rewarded. The invisible is also where battles are fought and won. Do you think your struggles are merely with people, systems, or circumstances? No. Your true struggle is with invisible forces, with inner doubts, fears, and beliefs that shape what you see. If you conquer in the unseen, you will conquer in the seen. But if you are defeated within, no outer effort will save you. This is why the chosen must give attention not only to outward actions but to inward states. Guard your imagination, protect your inner vision, feed your faith, starve your fears, for these invisible acts determine the visible life you live. To neglect the invisible is to surrender to appearances, but to master the invisible is to command appearances. Let me also say this: the invisible is eternal. The body may weaken, possessions may fade, circumstances may change, but the invisible truth of who you are remains unshaken. You are more than flesh, you are spirit. You are more than what you own, you are consciousness. You are more than the roles you play, you are chosen. In spirit, consciousness, chosenness, these are invisible realities that no power on earth can destroy. This is why you must root your identity not in what can be seen, but in what cannot be shaken. For when the storms of life strip away the visible, only the invisible foundation will keep you standing. But hear this warning: if you ignore the invisible, you will forever be tossed by the visible. If you dismiss imagination as fantasy, you will live imprisoned by circumstances. If you bow to appearances, you will never taste the fullness of promise. This is not a light matter, it is too serious. The invisible is the source, and the visible is only the shadow. To live by shadows is to live in deception. The chosen must live by the source, knowing that shadows cannot dictate destiny. So I say to you, chosen ones, lift your eyes beyond seen. Stop rehearsing the evidence of failure. Stop magnifying the visible contradictions. Begin instead to dwell in the invisible reality of promise fulfilled. See yourself healed, whole, victorious, abundant, and free. Feel it until it becomes more real to you than what your senses report. Hold it until appearances bend and match your inner truth. Do not release it when storms rage, for storms are but the labor pains of manifestation. Stay anchored in the unseen, for the unseen is eternal, and the unseen always births the seen. September 21 calls you to a higher way of seeing. It calls you to stop living as though appearances rule you. It calls you to treat the invisible with reverence, for it is the true substance of life. This message is not entertainment, it is instruction. Do not play with it. To play with it is to surrender your destiny to the whims of circumstance, but honor it is to step into mastery, to live as one who shapes reality rather than one who is shaped by it. The invisible is the real, and the chosen know this. Live by it, and you will see the unseen clothe itself in visible glory. Ignore it, and you will remain a prisoner of appearances. The choice is yours, but the consequences are unavoidable. Your response determines destiny, chosen ones. If you remember nothing else from this message, remember this: life is not about what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens. Destiny is not sealed by circumstances, it is sealed by response. Two people can face the same storm, the same loss, the same rejection, yet one will rise in power while the other sinks into despair. What makes the difference? It is not the storm itself, it is the response. Your response is the secret law that shapes your tomorrow. The invisible realm bends itself to the posture of your response. Heaven and earth align themselves with the attitude of your heart, the faith in your spirit, and the decision you make when pressure mounts. You cannot always control what comes against you, but you always control how you meet it, and in that meeting, your destiny is written. Understand this deeply. Responses are not surface reactions. They are decisions of spirit. When someone wrongs you, when doors slam shut, when opportunities vanish, when delays linger, the natural instinct is to respond with anger, bitterness, fear, or hopelessness. But the chosen must not live by instinct. They must live by intention, for instinct keeps you bound to the visible, while intention lifts you into the invisible where power resides. Every time you choose faith over fear, love over bitterness, gratitude over complaint, patience over haste, you shift the atmosphere of your destiny. Your response plants invisible seeds, and those seeds determine the harvest of your life. To respond wrongly is to sow destruction. To respond rightly is to sow destiny. Look at your life as a canvas. Circumstances are the brushes that strike across it, sometimes with violent strokes, sometimes with soft colors, but your response is the painter's hand that decides whether the strokes become chaos or beauty. If you hand the brush to fear, anger, or doubt, your life becomes a scattered mess. But if you hold the brush with faith, wisdom, and patience, even the darkest strokes turn into masterpieces of glory. Do you see, chosen ones? You cannot stop life's strokes, but you can always choose the hand that guides them, and that choice, your response, is what crafts destiny. Consider the story of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned unjustly. His circumstances screamed of failure and hopelessness. But what was Joseph's response? He chose faithfulness, humility, and trust in God. He refused bitterness, refused vengeance, refused despair. And because of his response, every setback became a stepping stone to the throne. His destiny as ruler over Egypt was not blocked by betrayal, slavery, or prison. It was unlocked by his response to them. Had he responded with bitterness, he would have rotted in a prison cell, but because he responded with faith, he rose to his palace. Destiny was not determined by what happened, but by how he responded. So it is with you. Some of you are facing rejection so deep it feels like your soul cannot recover. Some of you are staring at empty accounts, broken dreams, or shattered health. Some of you have been betrayed by the very ones you trusted most. Hear this. Those events cannot destroy your destiny, but your response can. If you respond with hopelessness, you will sink. If you respond with bitterness, you will remain chained. If you respond with fear, you will live in paralysis. But if you respond with faith, gratitude, and perseverance, even these very trials will become the highway to your destiny. The chosen cannot afford to respond carelessly. Your response is a sacred act, shaping the unseen forces that govern your life. Life will test you again and again, not by what it gives, but by how you respond. Every delay asks, will you trust or will you doubt? Every betrayal asks, will you forgive or will you harden? Every loss asks, will you give thanks or will you complain? Every challenge asks, will you rise or will you shrink? And your answers write the script of your destiny. Heaven does not promote those who complain, shrink, or harden. Heaven promotes those who respond with faith, resilience, and vision. The test of destiny is always in your response. Some of you ask, why do delays keep happening? Why do betrayals keep repeating? Chosen ones, it is because you have not yet learned the power of response. Life keeps giving you the same classroom until you pass the test. If you keep responding with complaint, bitterness, or fear, the cycle continues. But the moment you respond differently, with faith, peace, and forgiveness, the cycle breaks, the lesson is passed, and the next level opens. You cannot skip the test, but you can determine how quickly you move through it by how you respond. Do not be deceived into thinking responses are small. A soft word in the face of anger can end a war. A quiet prayer in the face of despair can release miracles. A simple act of forgiveness can break generational chains. A choice to keep praising in the midnight hour can shake prison walls open. Responses may seem small, but they hold eternal weight. Heaven watches your response. The universe bends to your response. Destiny is unlocked by your response. Never despise it, and remember this: chosen ones are not called to respond like the world. The world responds with retaliation, but the chosen respond with love. The world responds with fear, but the chosen respond with faith. The world responds with despair, but the chosen respond with hope. The world responds with greed, but the chosen respond with generosity. This difference is what sets you apart. Your response is your signature. It marks you as chosen or ordinary. If you blend into the responses of the world, you blend into its destiny. But if you rise with the responses of heaven, you rise into the destiny of the chosen. Yet know this truth: right responses do not come from willpower alone. They come from inner alignment. If you try to force forgiveness without renewing your heart, bitterness will return. If you try to act strong while still nurturing fear inside, collapse will come. True responses flow from inner states. That is why chosen ones must guard their hearts, feed their spirits, dwell in the invisible vision of victory, and live anchored in faith. For what fills you within will spill out in response. If you are filled with faith, faith will flow in response. If you are filled with fear, fear will flow in response. If you are filled with love, love will flow in response. Your response reveals your inner state, and your inner state shapes your destiny. So let me ask you today, how have you been responding? Have you been cursing the delays or blessing them as preparation? Have you been drowning in fear or standing in faith? Have you been holding grudges or releasing them with forgiveness? Have you been shrinking from battles or meeting them as stepping stones to greatness? Your past responses may explain why your destiny feels delayed, but take heart. The moment you shift your response, you shift your destiny. The past cannot chain you if today you choose a new response. September 21 is not just another day on the calendar. It is a divine appointment for you to reset your response. Heaven is watching. The unseen realm is listening. Life is waiting. What will you choose? Will you continue bowing to appearances, reacting by instinct and prolonging your wilderness? Or will you rise as chosen, respond by faith, and step into your promised land? The choice is yours, and in that choice, destiny is sealed. Therefore, chosen ones, take this seriously. Do not treat your responses as casual. Every word you speak, every attitude you carry, every choice you make under pressure is a seed that shapes your future. Guard your responses as sacred. Train your heart in faith, your mind in truth, your soul in patience. Refuse to let fear dictate. Refuse to let bitterness rule. Refuse to let hopelessness speak. Instead, choose faith, choose love, choose resilience, choose vision. For in your response lies the power to unlock destiny. Your response is not just a reaction. It is your agreement with heaven or with despair. It is your covenant with faith or with fear. It is your signature on the future that will unfold. Do not sign away your destiny with careless responses. Sign with wisdom, with strength, with faith, and your destiny will unfold in glory. Remember always, your response determines destiny. The weight of this day, chosen ones, September 21, is not a date to be brushed aside as if it were common, for days are not all equal in the spirit. Some days carry the ordinary rhythm of life, while others are laden with the concentrated weight of destiny. This is one of those days. It is not an accident you are here to hear this message now. It is not chance that your spirit feels a strange stirring as the hours approach. This day has been marked in the unseen long before your eyes ever glanced at a calendar. Heaven has placed significance upon it, and the chosen are called to treat it with reverence, for days like this hold the power to redirect your path, open sealed doors, and test the seriousness of your faith. The weight of this day is not external, it is spiritual. It presses not upon your flesh, but upon your inner man, and how you respond to the pull of this moment will echo far into your future. Every chosen one must understand that the passage of time is not merely a ticking clock. It is a divine classroom. Some lessons are light, others heavy. Some moments are casual, others sacred. And whenever heaven assigns weight to a day, it is because alignment is required. September 21 is a day where the invisible realm seeks to align you with destiny, to call forth from you a decision, a seriousness, a faith that will position you for what is coming. To miss this weight is to miss a moment. To treat it lightly is to turn away from the very key your soul has been asking for. Do not let your heart grow careless here, chosen one, for this is not entertainment, it is alignment. The weight of this day is not meant to burden you with fear, but to awaken you to responsibility. You have been entrusted with much, and to whom much is given, much is required. Heaven cannot give weighty assignments to light hearts. This is why delays have come before you. This is why storms have been allowed. This is why betrayals have cut so deeply. Because your soul is being tempered, trained, and tested to carry the gravity of destiny. And now, September 21 arrives as a checkpoint to ask, have you learned? Are you awake? Will you respond? Or will you continue drifting as if time itself has no meaning? The chosen are never given random days. Every marked moment has purpose, and this one carries the weight of promise waiting to be fulfilled. When Spirit marks a day, it becomes a doorway. To walk through, you must be awake. Imagine a train pulling into the station only once in a season. If you are asleep, distracted, or indifferent, you miss it. September 21 is such a train, carrying you toward the fulfillment of what has been whispered in your spirit, but you must be attentive, for heaven does not shout in noise, it speaks in stillness. The weight of this day may come as a quiet conviction, a sudden dream, a gentle nudge, a scripture rising in your heart. Do not dismiss it as random. Do not delay in obedience, for one act of obedience on a weighty day can alter the entire trajectory of your life. The weight of this day also reveals itself in warfare. The adversary knows when heaven places significance on a moment. That is why distractions intensify, doubts whisper louder, conflicts arise suddenly, and weariness presses you heavier. It is not ordinary resistance. It is targeted opposition meant to steal your focus so you miss the weight of the day. Chosen one, you must guard your spirit with vigilance. Do not be deceived into thinking the sudden chaos around you is meaningless. It is evidence that something holy is unfolding. Stand firm, hold fast, refuse to let the weight of distraction outweigh the weight of destiny, for the adversary can only win if you treat this moment lightly. Think of Israel on the night of Passover. The weight of that day was not casual. It was life and death, freedom or bondage. Had they ignored the instruction to mark their doors with blood, they would have lost what was promised. But those who treated the weight of the day with seriousness entered a freedom that generations had prayed for. In the same way, your actions on weighty days are not small. They carry consequences far beyond what your eyes can see. September 21 is not just another sunrise and sunset. It is a spiritual Passover, a day to heed, to honor, to step carefully and faithfully. Your obedience today may be the key to unlocking your tomorrow. Do not think lightly of timing, for timing is the rhythm of destiny. To act too soon or too late is to miss alignment. But when you honor the weight of the appointed day, you flow in harmony with heaven's rhythm, and everything aligns in your favor. Some of you have been frustrated at delays, wondering why prayers have not manifested, why breakthroughs linger, why answers seem suspended in the air. Hear this: heaven does not operate by your clock, but by appointed times, and September 21 carries an appointment. If you honor it, you will see sudden shifts. If you ignore it, you will prolong the wait. Do not miss the rhythm. This day has been marked. The weight of this day also demands separation. Not everyone around you will feel it. Some will laugh at you, mock your seriousness, call you dramatic for sensing significance in a date. But chosen ones cannot move by the crowd. They must move by conviction. The ark was built under ridicule, yet when the rain came, it was the ridicule that drowned and the conviction that rose. Do not seek validation from the casual when you are called to seriousness. The weight of this day is not given to all. It is given to the chosen. That is why you feel it. That is why your spirit stirs. That is why you cannot shake the sense that something is pressing on this moment. Do not dismiss it, and do not expect others to understand it. Separation is the mark of those entrusted with holy weight, and know this: weighty days are not only for you, they are for those tied to you. Your obedience today may open doors for your family, your children, your community, your bloodline. The chosen are carriers of generational destiny. When you honor the weight of the day, you become a vessel through which blessings flow not just into your life, but into those connected to you. One act of faith today may break chains that have held your lineage for decades. One act of obedience today may plant seeds of freedom for generations unborn. This is why the weight feels so heavy. It is not only your destiny at stake, but the destiny of many who will walk in the ripple of your choices. Chosen ones, the weight of this day is not given to crush you. It is given to lift you. Gold is never trusted to the careless, diamonds never entrusted to the shallow. Weight signifies value. The fact that this day presses so deeply upon your spirit is proof of the value heaven has placed within you. You are not ordinary. You are marked, set apart, chosen to carry the sacred, and with that chosenness comes weight. Do not resent it. Do not run from it. Embrace it, honor it, carry it with reverence, for weight carried with faith becomes wings, and what felt heavy today will lift you into heights tomorrow. So I say again, September 21 is not ordinary. Treat it as holy ground. Enter it with prayer, with faith, with watchfulness. Guard your heart against distraction. Tune your ear to the still small voice. Set your eyes on the unseen. This is not the hour to play games, to procrastinate, or to treat lightly what is serious. The weight of this day is too great, too significant, too sacred. Those who honor it will rise. Those who dismiss it will delay. Destiny is at stake, chosen ones, and the heavens are watching. Do not let this day pass as if it were nothing. For those who treat it rightly, it will be remembered as the day everything began to shift. The seriousness of obedience, chosen ones. Obedience is not a suggestion. It is not a light option among many choices. It is the very key that unlocks destiny. When heaven speaks, when the Spirit stirs, when that quiet voice within calls you to act, move, to release, to step out, you are standing at the crossroads of life itself. To obey is to align with heaven's flow. To disobey is to cut yourself off from the current of destiny. Obedience is not measured by how much you hear, but by how quickly and faithfully you respond to what you hear. September 21 is a day marked by seriousness, and its seriousness is tied to obedience. For what good is revelation without response? What good is instruction without action? The chosen are not marked by how much they know, but by how much they obey. And in this hour, obedience is too serious to treat lightly. The tragedy of many lives is not ignorance. It is disobedience. People know what they should do. They know the path to take, the apology to make, the step of faith to walk, the bitterness to release, the dream to pursue, the temptation to resist. They know, but they delay, they argue, they doubt, they procrastinate, and in the delay, destiny slips further away. Every delay of obedience strengthens the grip of disobedience. Every excuse builds a wall between you and what heaven has prepared. But the chosen cannot afford such carelessness. For chosen ones, delayed obedience is disobedience. When heaven gives an instruction, it is not casual, it is urgent. It is tied to timing, to alignment, to breakthrough. If you hesitate, the door may close, the moment may pass, the opportunity may vanish. This is why the Spirit speaks with weight today. Do not play with obedience. Your future depends on it. Consider the story of Jonah. He was given a word to go to Nineveh. His disobedience did not erase the word, but it delayed its fulfillment and invited unnecessary storms. The sea raged, the sailors panicked. Jonah sank into the belly of a fish, all because of disobedience. His destiny was not destroyed, but it was delayed, and the suffering he endured was unnecessary. Do you see, chosen ones, disobedience does not cancel God's plan, but it prolongs your wilderness, multiplies your storms, and complicates your journey. And the tragedy is this: every delay of obedience does not only affect you, it affects those tied to you. Jonah's disobedience endangered everyone on the ship. In the same way, when you refuse to obey, your family, your community, your destiny partners also suffer the ripple of your delay. That is why obedience is not optional, it is sacred. Some of you are praying for breakthroughs, yet heaven has already given you the instruction that unlocks it. But instead of obeying, you wait for another sign, another confirmation, another word. You say, I'm not ready, or maybe later, but every later pushes your blessing further away. You want God to move, but heaven is waiting on you to move. The breakthrough is not delayed because God is silent. It is delayed because you are still debating obedience. September 21 comes as a reminder. The season has shifted, the window is open, and obedience cannot be postponed. If you want the promise, you must walk the path of obedience. Obedience is serious because it is the language of trust. You cannot claim to trust God if you do not obey him. Trust without obedience is empty talk. Faith without obedience is dead. When you obey, you declare, I believe the invisible more than the visible, eternal more than the temporary, the voice within more than the noise around me. Obedience is proof of faith, and when heaven sees obedience, it releases favor, provision, and miracles. Walls fall, seas part, lions' mouths shut, and prison doors swing open, not by endless debating, but by obedience. The Israelites did not see Jericho's walls fall by strategizing. They saw it fall by obeying the unusual instruction to march and shout. Naaman was not healed of leprosy by logic, but by obedience to dip 7 times in the Jordan. Peter did not catch a miraculous net of fish by arguing, but by obeying the word, cast your net on the other side. Chosen ones, miracles are born from obedience. The weight of obedience is also revealed in the cost. True obedience will often ask you to do what feels uncomfortable, unreasonable, or impossible. It will ask you to release something precious. Walk away from what looks secure to stand when it feels easier to fall, to believe when doubt screams louder. That is why obedience is serious. It costs something. Abraham was asked to leave his homeland without knowing where he was going. Later, he was asked to lay his son Isaac on the altar. Each act of obedience was heavy, but each act unlocked new levels of blessing and covenant. Your obedience will cost you something too, chosen one, but what you gain will far outweigh what you lose. Do not fear the cost, for obedience always leads to greater reward. But let us go deeper. Obedience is not about outward action alone. It is about inner alignment. You can act obediently outwardly while resisting inwardly. You can go where God tells you to go but complain in your heart the entire way. That is not obedience. It is mere compliance. True obedience is joyful, willing, surrendered. It says, not my will, but yours be done. That inner surrender is what marks you as chosen. The seriousness of obedience is not in appearance, but in authenticity. Heaven weighs the heart, not the performance. That is why the Spirit presses this truth upon you. Do not obey reluctantly, obey with joy. Do not drag your feet, walk boldly. Do not complain under your breath, rejoice with faith. For true obedience flows from love, not fear. And chosen ones, obedience today is not only for you. It is for the future waiting on you. Your obedience plants seeds that generations will harvest. One decision to obey can break generational curses, release new blessings, and establish legacies. Think of Noah. His obedience in building the ark was not only his salvation, but the salvation of his entire family and the future of mankind. What if he had disobeyed? What if he had delayed? The weight of his obedience was too great to be treated lightly. So it is with you. The seriousness of your obedience is not measured by what you see now, but by what heaven knows will come through you. Your yes today echoes through eternity. Disobedience, however, carries consequences you cannot afford. It breeds confusion, drains your strength, and opens doors to unnecessary battles. The chosen who disobey lose clarity, wander in circles, and suffer delays not because destiny has abandoned them, but because their steps have stepped out of alignment. Yet the mercy of heaven is this: the moment you repent and obey, alignment is restored. You may have delayed, but you have not been disqualified. You may have resisted, but you are not rejected. Obedience always opens the door to restoration. That is why this message comes with urgency. Do not wait another day to obey. The window is open now. The wait is pressing now. The time is now. So, chosen ones, hear me. September 21 is too serious to play with. It is a day to examine your heart, to repent of delayed obedience, to step boldly into what heaven has whispered. Stop making excuses. Stop seeking endless confirmations. Stop bargaining with Spirit. What you already know to do, do it now. The destiny you are longing for is waiting on the other side of obedience. Do not let this day pass without a decision. Do not let this word be just another word you heard but never acted on. For the chosen are not hearers only, they are doers, and doers walk into promise. Obedience is life, obedience is destiny, obedience is freedom. Treat it as holy, treat it as weighty, treat it as urgent, for in your obedience lies the key to everything you have prayed for. Chosen ones, let September 21 be remembered as the day you stopped debating and started obeying, the day you stopped hesitating and started walking, the day you stopped playing and started aligning. This is too serious to ignore. Honor the voice within, step boldly into obedience, and watch as heaven unfolds the destiny reserved only for those who obey.